a .NET Core application in production. First question to the audience and to the stream: who has already an application or .NET Core application in production? 1, 2. Okay, 33%. Okay, so I have to go a little to answer this question and what to do. I have to go a little bit wider. So first is which .NET version, .NET Core version should I use when I go to production? Yeah, that gets funny. So current versions are: we have now .NET Core 2.0 available, which is an LTS version. 2.1, sorry, 2.1, and is supported until 28th of August 2021. Then we have currently also a .NET Core 2.2 available, which is the current version, and from the support lifecycle will be supported until 23rd of December 2019. Then we have future versions. We have .NET Core 3.0. That's the next major version we're all waiting for. And it will be released on 23rd September 2019. That's the .NET Conf streaming day. And because it's not an LTS version, it's supported for 3 months after the next minor version, which will be .NET Core 3.0, which will be a LTS version again, and plan is about to release it in September 2019. So .NET Core 3.0 will be supported around February 2020. So, and when I say which support is available, I mean following support. So there's the community support, GitHub, and you get Microsoft support. Microsoft support means it's paid. It's the premier stuff support. That's the will to open issue, where you have to pay some partner contracts. There are some issues within, I think, but so. And what is now an LTS version? So long terms supported something. So the definition of Microsoft is released for long-term support. The included features and components that have been stabilized, requiring few updates, blah blah blah. Releases are good choice for hosting application that you do not intend to update. And they are released for the time frame. It depends on which is longer. 3 years after initial release, and 1 year after subsequent LTS release. So you have an overlap from 1 year of the LTS version. So, what is also an LTS version? What you get? About every 1 or 2 months, you get an update, and it includes security fixes, sometimes also bug fixes, and they are free. That's when you download it, the new stuff. This long-term, that's the free supported stuff, and the other supported stuff is paid. So yeah, so yeah, that is it. So if you want to choose a LTS version, you get this security updates this monthly for free. But if you have a bug and want to send this to Microsoft, you have to go to the paid support. So now we have a little bit overview about which version are available and will be available. Which version should I use? And this is completely my opinion. In your use case, it could be other. But for me, when I start a new application, I start now with .NET Core 3.0. The release is 1 month away. Why not? And I plan already an upgrade to 3.1. Because yeah, it's only supported until February 2020. If you are, for some strange reason, can't use preview versions, it's currently in preview version, used to do and plan already the upgrade. But one month, and since preview 7 of 3.0, Microsoft is considering .NET Core 3.0 as production ready, and the .NET Microsoft.com website runs .NET Core since beginning of July on it. May I open my browser here, Martin? On your
It should already be open.
Should already be open.
Sorry.
Ah, yeah. There's the mouse.
Exit preview.
No, this. So when you look at here at the bottom, you see which version the website is running. So yeah, and this page gets some traffic. As we're talking about supported stuff, small note to ASP.NET Core 2.1. There was a little, ASP.NET Core 3.0 will only run on .NET Core 3.0. The versions before you could run on .NET Core and .NET Framework. The reason is that was the suggested way to migrate an application. Bring your MVC application to ASP.NET MVC and then on full framework, and then bring it to the application to .NET Core. That doesn't work anymore with ASP.NET Core 3.0. So what they did is they put ASP.NET Core 2.0 under the same policy of the full framework, which means it's supported indefinitely. Because the .NET framework, the support is because it's part of the operating system, it's in the support policy and support lifecycle of the operating system. So as long as there is full framework, they support it. So if they find security fix, they will fix it for full framework, not on only the ASP.NET Core stuff. It's only, so this info, I didn't find it in the official support documents. I have to ask them again. It's currently, I've only found it in a blog post from Damien Edwards, I think. Yeah, but they said they will add it to the official support documents. So, we now know which version we have. Well, we choose now a version. So, and we did some application development, and now first deployment to production. So, how do I do this? There are some different types of deployments in .NET Core available. The first is framework-dependent deployment, FDD. Then there is the self-containment deployment, and the framework-dependent executable. So, what are the differences? So, the framework-dependent deployment is when you do a normal .NET publish. The advantages are it's platform independent, so I can take the binaries, compile it on a Windows machine, copy it on a Linux, copy a Mac, they run. Small in size, and they automatically use the latest patch version of the runtime. Disadvantage, you need .NET Core installed on the machine, because to execute the stuff you need .NET. You execute the stuff with .NET and then the path to the DLL. Then there are the self-containment deployment. That's the one when Microsoft says you can have multiple .NET Core version parallel, because you can package it with your application. Then they are talking about self-contained deployment. Advantage, yeah, you have the full control of the used version. And there are no, because that disadvantages. The deployment package gets a lot bigger. You need to create, if you have an application that runs on Mac, Linux, and Windows, you need to create different packages for the different platforms. You have to take care about the security patches, and you still need native dependencies installed. They are not included. So Windows is easy. I think that's only the C++ runtime distribution. You have a strange Safari. Yeah, somewhere there are just dependencies. On Mac and on Linux, you need more with the packages and so. Yeah, and then there are these framework-dependent executables. So there are a little bit of, not both. So they are also small in size, but you don't need .NET, the .NET tool to execute it. You get a real binary. You get a .exe or a binary for Mac and Linux to directly execute. But because framework dependent, you need the .NET Core version installed. And because it's different binaries, you need to create packages for every platform. Yeah, Martin?
Another advantage is that in .NET Core 3, you will be able to embed icons inside that executable. So you can build a WPF app, and you can include icons and Windows manifests inside that executable without needing to deploy the full .NET Core runtime. So that's one of the motivations why they built that.
Okay, good to know. The inside knowledge as always. One info that you get a feeling about, I always talk about small in size, big in size. For normal .NET new console application, so it's a classic Hello World template. For the framework dependent deployment, it's 157 kilobytes. The self-contained deployment for Windows x64 normal is 66 megabyte. When with .NET Core 3 there is a trimming feature available that it removes stuff that you don't need. You get it down to 25.4 megabyte, and the FD is, yeah, it's the same size. It's like the FTD on Windows for x64, but you have to create it multiple times. So, what should I use from these three deployment arts? It depends, as usual. I think that's again my personal opinion. ASP.NET application, a framework-dependent deployment version. That's the easiest one. Except the admins make problems because they don't know .NET Core or have some fear and blah blah blah. Then I would use a self-contained deployment because they get everything and don't have to care about. And then you can later change it to a deployment. But if you have admins that that's not .NET Framework, we don't notice. Okay, self-contained here, a lot of DLLs, all .NET DLLs. Nothing is here, don't look. Everything is fine. Console applications, yeah, framework-dependent executables. I don't want to every time enter .NET before. Except I don't want to create packages for everything, for every platform. Then, and I don't know where my tool is used, then I would run with the framework-dependent deployment. That's what I've used in a project. We have some stuff that we need to execute in different processes, and this is only a framework-dependent deployment because this out-of-process stuff can happen on every platform. And with .NET Core 3, we get a new application type, get our WPF and WinForms applications back. Framework-dependent executables, because I think you want a .exe to start your VPF application. And for deployment, it could be, as WPF and WinForms is only available for Windows, you're reducing the packages for the systems to two, so WinX64 and WinX86. And when you only care about, so when you could do it with 86, and don't want to let the user install .NET Core framework, you can have a self-contained deployment. So it's really one folder, exit, start, and it works. So now we have some deployment, we have some binaries, and we want to host them somewhere. So what possibilities do I have for ASP.NET Core hosting? .NET Core has a lot of possibilities everywhere. Because for hosting, we have Kestrel, our nice web server. As can be used as an Edge web server and a reverse proxy configuration. Edge web server, it's directly out in the internet, so nothing between, perhaps a firewall. Reverse proxy configuration is you have some proxy in between Nginx, Apache, IIS. Then we have our IIS and IIS Express hosting with two different models. And there's also HTTP sys available. So, what does this all mean? Kestrel. Yeah. Everybody knows what Kestrel is? Anybody? So, it's the ASP.NET Core own HTTP server they implemented. And it's really fast. So when they're talking about the tech and power test with the performance, they're always, that's the Kestrel. The nice stuff is it's available as a NuGet package. So you can host this web server in your console application, in your VPF, WPF application also. It supports HTTPS, HTTP2, WebSockets. What it doesn't support is Windows authentication. Could be sometimes used. And yeah, as I said, it can be used as Edge web server reverse proxy. So Edge web server is have the internet, and then our web server, perhaps a firewall, that only the port is open. Disadvantage of Kestrel is you can't do port sharing. So if you make with Kestrel open port 80, it's bound to this process. You can't have multiple websites, as we know it in IIS, on one port and do differentiation with domain name. Kestrel doesn't know this. The second mode of operation is reverse proxy configuration. You have a reverse proxy in between the web and Kestrel. That can be Nginx, Apache, IIS. It limits the public surface, so you can have perhaps an easier certificate handling from the HTTPS certificates, because everything is done in the reverse proxy. So between internet and reverse proxy, I have the HTTP connection. Probably nobody sees me on the stream pointing out stuff. And then I have a normal HTTP connection between the reverse proxy and Kestrel. And what could be is that already your IT is using a reverse proxy. And they know this stuff and they don't have to learn something new. How they exchange certificates for Kestrel. Good. IIS Express. In-process hosting, that's the default one. But it's all, for new application, it's only available for .NET Core apps. And yeah, everything runs in the IIS process. And with IIS, then there's also this out of process hosting, where the stuff is done in a separate process. This IIS module forwards the whole stuff, but it also cannot forward HTTPS. Generally, There is still a web config in IIS for the configuration from some .NET Core stuff, so we don't get it away. IIS still supports Windows authentication, and if you want to deploy to IIS, the docs are really nice. So they really put work in them. So that's the reason why I don't go more into it. And then the Wedge HTTP sys. That's the stuff IIS is based on. And with that, you have a lot of features like Windows authentication, port sharing, HTTPS, also with SNI. So on the domain name difference, you have HTTP 2 over TLS, only for Windows 10, file transfer, caching, WebSockets, and it's only available on Windows. What a surprise. And it can also be an edge server because IIS runs on the stuff. It's a little bit low level, more low level than IIS. Yeah. So, as usual, what do I want to use now? As usual, it depends. My suggestion is, if it has to run in IIS, use the in-process hosting. That works. The admins know how to configure IIS, so SSL certificates and stuff they can do. If it hasn't run in IIS, my personal favorite is the reverse proxy configuration. Personally, because I like Nginx more than IIS zip. And I can configure that and there, and what I do behind them is I have more flexibility. When you have one use case and you only need local connections, use pure Kestrel. So if you have some RPC mechanism and inter-process communication, and it's not that, and you can use for your use case HTTP and JSON, start a Kestrel with Web API and do the inter-process communication with it. That's the easiest stuff. So let's say we want to deploy to IIS because that's probably the most use case in our stuff. How do I do that? As always, nothing changed. Web deployment is there. You can Xcopy, robocopy deployment with app offline HTML, if you know that. If you put a file that's named app underscore offline HTML into the folder, IIS notices this and shuts down the app pool, then you can exchange the files, and when you remove again the file, it starts again the app pool. Okay, I don't want to. So that's really nice. If you can get web deploy somehow not to work as I did. Yeah. So there's nothing new here. Good. And now, or as you did it already, no idea how you deploy the IIS. There are 100 different ways. So, and let's say we have now our .NET Core application in production. What do I have to do now? Yeah, that's now the little we are spoiled in the .NET world as of now. Because if there is a security bug, the admins install the .NET framework stuff via Windows Update every month automatically, and we don't have to do anything. Yeah, that's after us. .NET Core updates aren't published via Windows Update. Sorry. You have to install it another way. As perhaps a Java runtime or a Node update or something else. How do you know when you need to install something? there are a lot of the release notes. They're all available, and no. Do I need to double click there?
Just press family.
Okay. So it's still again looking for the mouse. So there are the complete release notes of the different releases. With for 2 to 6 now, let's have here. You have all installers here. You have how to install it, update it every time, and somewhere normally is also the change log. No, it's supposed to download. This is the markdown file with the SDK somewhere. Changes in 2 to 6. Yeah, there is a release. There is a security fix in ASP.NET Core. How do you get to know if there is a release? What Microsoft is doing is they have announcement repos. So the first one is for ASP.NET and the second is for .NET itself. And when they have announcement, new version, security fix, they create their issues there. And I can only recommend to subscribe to this announcement repos on GitHub that you get the notifications. So when you have a look at the issues, there are different ones there. Yeah, they're changing the repos and it's 5.0 stuff. But they have also here the whole security alerts here. And what they also have is for the whole stuff. They have JSON files for everything that they update. So the easiest manual notification that the new update is there is subscribing to the announcements repos. If you want to automatically do some stuff, or perhaps your IT department has already a way how they get notified that there is a no Java runtime update, there is a no new node update they have to install, and other third-party dependencies, they can also hook into these JSON files and get the information. Yeah, and what do I need to update then? It depends on your deployment. If you have a self-contained deployment, as mentioned, everything else on you. You have to create new packages. So you have first update your own PC or your build agent where you create the release packages and then create a new deployment for it. If it's not self-deployed, you have perhaps luck. So a lot of fixes, of the security fixes, are in the Microsoft Star Apps packages. You see this also, can also find this out in the release notes. And these packages are updated with the runtime. So if you then install the new .NET Core runtime, because of the patch version automatically upgrades so that it uses the latest patch version, it uses them. But bug fixes can be also, or security fixes can be also in normal NuGet packages that are not in the shared framework stuff. So you have to check this also. So yeah, you have to get used to read the every month or every 2 months the changelog. Is there some change? Does it affect me? Do I need to upgrade? Is it only in the shared framework? Okay, I don't only have to update the web server. I say the admins, oh, there is a NuGet package that is affected. That's not part of the shared runtime. I have to update my application and ship a new deployment. But this is something we have to do up now. That's what the other stuff is doing. And the NuGet stuff is also happening on full framework. I think we don't do it because we are not aware of it. And yeah. And yeah. And this is perhaps not the best segue for a presentation to start cool and then this bummer, but we can't be lazy anymore. We have to look at this stuff. That's what is now and that's what will be in the future. It will not go away when we hide under full framework. The future is .NET Core and next year .NET 5, which is not a predecessor from .NET 4. We have get to used to this. So, and as early we get used to it, it's easier for us than in 1 year, 2 years, when everything runs on the system. Good. Do you have any questions now? Do you still want to use .NET Core? Okay, good. So I don't put everything down there. Yes.
I just want to say you need to actually be aware for IIS in-process hosting that there are different bundles available for the installation of the runtime.
Yeah, that's I didn't mention. Command T or Control T for new tab?
Command T.
So when you go to .NET, you get redirected. Okay, here, and when you're on the downloads for Windows, then you go to all .NET Core downloads, 2.2. You have here, when you only need the runtime, you have here the runtime and hosting bundle, which includes the ASP.NET Core module for iOS. And the others, that's the normal runtime, if I'm remembering correctly. And Damien Edwards said yes. When was the last ISP.NET Meetup? Some days ago. That's something they will address in the future. They will want to work on this to make this easier, because they get also with VPF and with WinForms some runtimes for that, and it's getting a little complicated currently with the different stuff, and they want to have a simple download, one download that installs .NET Core, that you're able to run .NET Core application on a machine.
The interesting part is that the same IIS module is also included in the SDK installer, so that's even more complicated.
Yeah, and probably you can't install the SDK on the server. Any other questions? So one question I got in the days before, because it asked on Meetup, was a use case that with entity framework that it is not allowed to install the SDK on the web server and run the .NET EF tools to upgrade the schema. Yeah. I'm not that big user of EF and EF Core, but the only stuff I got into, also that I had in mind, is write your own small console application that does the schema changes. The .NET EF stuff and also the PowerShell stuff is always nice for local development, but if you have to deploy it, you need something that is repeatable and yeah. Yeah, Christian.
If I'm running a Windows machine
Yes.
and I've got an IIS running on it and I want to deploy a .NET Core application, do I have any extra benefits of it instead of just deploying the normal .NET Framework app? Because like everything is already there on the Windows machine, so
Yeah, you have the benefits of using .NET Core and not .NET Framework.
yeah, I mean I would use it because of the cross-platform benefit mostly. So when I'm thinking of .NET Core, I usually think of running it on a Linux machine.
Okay. So yeah, it's the usual .NET Core. One is on a multi-platform, but they did so much work on the performance side
Okay.
in stuff that's a path combine. A path combine is, I think, 10 times faster on .NET Core.
Okay.
And you will not get a thread abort if the user cancels the request.
And there did it a lot of work. Then you have, so I'm lucky. I've never had a project where I couldn't update the framework because then something isn't working. So I could always update to the current supported one. But there are stuff where you can't update the framework because you're doing such strange thing that it doesn't work anymore. And with the self-contained deployment, I have my version. It works. I don't care what the other stuff, what the other people are using for a version. For me works. Yeah.
Can't I avoid some of the pain of updates by deploying to containers?
Can you
No.
repeat the question?
Yeah, the question was if I can avoid the update pain if I'm using containers. I'm not that familiar, but every time they push a new SDK version and runtime version, they always also push new container images, base container images, which included the stuff. So at least you have to rebuild your container and start it again.
Yeah.
But this is like, yeah, it's for me the same as I'm logging in on the server with RDP and install the current SDK version, the
Well, if I
runtime.
do it as in my regular CI/CD pipeline,
Yeah,
then I don't worry about it.
yeah.
As long
Then you have this part is solved. Still have to look somehow on the NuGet packages if you
Well,
need
yeah,
to
I
update
update
some.
those as well regularly, and let's say we still do quarterly releases. We're not daily yet, but before we do that, we try to get everything up to the latest, and then
Yeah.
we generate everything.
Yeah, that's make it easier. And for NuGet packages, so I'm not sure if there's something for Azure DevOps or so, but there's on GitHub is Dependabot. It's a bot that scans your repository and sends you automatically pull requests for when new version is available from some dependencies.